Coming up next on the Network Hockey League, it's the 1991 Stanley Cup Playoffs on Sports Channel America.
It's happened again. The St. Louis Blues are a heartbeat from elimination. Who will have the stronger heart tonight? The Blues are those impressive Minnesota North Stars. It's next on Sports Channel. Come down the Mississippi from the Twin Cities of Minnesota to St. Louis. Outside a beautiful warm night. Inside the arena, as last round, the Blues must win to preserve any hopes that they would have for the Stanley Cup. Good evening, everyone. Along with Bill Clement, I'm Mike Emmerich. 2 weeks ago tonight, we were sitting here talking about a 3-1 Detroit advantage and how these fans here at the arena might be watching their last game. It's the same situation for St. Louis tonight. This is really living dangerously.
Tough situation. Fourth game now in the playoffs that they have to play facing elimination, and you can tell that they are on the brink because everywhere you look, the quotes from the players on both sides, one cliche after another, that tells you they are on the brink. But the Blues simply have to play with a controlled type of desperation. The North Stars can't get too excited simply because they have the Blues on the brink. And Mike, we have said all along that the Blues have to get production from their key guys. Well, Adam Oates is producing. He had 2 goals and 2 assists in the 8-4 loss 2 nights ago. They may have come a little late, but I think Adam Oates is playing his heart out. It just doesn't seem to be enough right now, and Adam Oates, as a result, has to look upon himself now not only as a passer, but as a goal scorer because they're not coming from anywhere else.
Brett Hull has worked very hard, too, and you oftentimes see them together, but last game they were divided just for a little extra offense at times. Brett Hull had 2 goals in the game, too. He produced. They've looked toward Dan Quinn as a guy that they thought would produce when they traded with Vancouver for him. Yet in the first round against the Detroit Red Wings, Quinn had only 1 goal, and in the second round, he's only had 2 assists in the 4 games. They're hoping that lightning will strike. It still can as long as there's 1 game to play.
And the North Stars have all kinds of veteran players that have been in this situation before with the team on the brink. And as a coach, Bob Gainey hasn't been in this position before, but as a player, he has. And we asked him today if these elimination games are the toughest to win. He said yes. We asked him why.
Well, I do feel they're difficult, maybe the most difficult. Teams can actually see the reality of being eliminated from the playoffs. Until you're in a situation where you've lost 3 games, you don't have to look directly at being out. When you get in that position, I think there's a natural reaction from any competitor to fight it off with whatever he can fight it with. And in those final games, the team that's looking at elimination usually digs down and finds another level that they can go to.
Bob Gainey counting on some balanced scoring, something his charges have had and something the St. Louis Blues have not had. They were looking for goals from Mike Modano, and finally in the last game they did get a couple. Mike had entered Game 4 without a goal at all. But this is a balanced scoring team that has gotten 9 guys who have scored at least a goal. 7 of them have 2, and you've just seen the 2 that Modano has had. That's the balance they have. That's the balance St. Louis doesn't have.
Absolutely. And Modano plays on a line with 2 veterans, Dave Gagne and Brian Propp. But even they will tell you that it's Modano's speed that is the key to their line.
All right, the key to the night is found in the edge, and the edge has those check marks. Hand them out.
Still lopsided for the North Stars. It has to be. And it was tough to find check marks for the Blues. Their power play clicked in. Perhaps late it's easier to score goals when you're down 8-2. That's what Brett Hull even said yesterday. But nevertheless, perhaps the Blues power play is back, so I gave them a check mark there. I gave them a check mark for the intangible because the elimination game is the toughest one to win.
John Casey in goal. That's no surprise. Vincent Riendo in goal. To us, that is a surprise. Opening face-off. Game 5 coming up next.
To
Tonight's game is brought to you by Mazda Cars and Trucks. Mazda, it just feels right. By Coors Light, the one that won't slow you down. The Silver Bullet is the right beer now. And by Xerox, the document company.
Welcome to our Stanley Cup studios in New York. I'm Bob Papa. This could be elimination night in the Campbell Conference. How about the St. Louis Blues? Can they fight off the North Stars? And later on tonight, the Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. We will join that game after the Blues and North Stars. Let's take a look at tonight's key Stanley Cup headlines. Tomas Sandstrom may be in the lineup for the Kings. Sandstrom suffered a compression fracture above his right knee in game number 2. He has had no ill effects after skating on Wednesday. A writer and analyst have drawn the Kings' ire. Edmonton Sun hockey writer Dick Schubay ripped the city of Los Angeles on Monday, saying it was phony, among other things. And former Bruins coach and CBC analyst Don Cherry implied that Steve Kasper was a wimp for not playing with a concussion. The two got into a heated debate following the Kings' skate on Wednesday. The Penguins wait while the Bruins gear up for the clincher. Pittsburgh has played every other day since the start of the postseason. They won't suit up again until Wednesday night. It'll be either Boston or Montreal. The Bruins can wrap up that series tomorrow night. And one of the keys to the Penguins' playoff success has been the play of their defense, and they've done it with injuries to defensemen Paul Coffey, Ulf Samuelsson, and Peter Taglianetti. If you get a look regular season, the Penguins' goals against 3.81 against New Jersey, 3, and against Washington 2.6 goals against. They allowed only 3 goals in the last 3 games. So Pittsburgh is riding high. They get some time to rest up just a little bit. Well, right now we're ready for hockey action tonight. We're ready to take you to the St. Louis Arena. Standing by Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement. They will call the action for tonight. And here they are with period number 1.
Thank you very much. Another full house here tonight. And just before we joined you, they were chanting, "Let's go Blues, let's go Blues." Their enthusiasm hasn't diminished. And a big ovation came for Vincent Riendeau, the goaltender who has started the 2 games up in Minnesota but was not able to finish them. It is a full house here tonight. They have already flashed up on the message board and left there for everyone to see that the next Blues home game will be coming up game 7. They're optimistic. Lynn Humphrey with the Star Spangled Banner. Lynn Humphrey cuts the air here at the arena in St. Louis with the Star Spangled Banner. The All-American from North Dakota will try to do it again. John Casey with his 21st straight playoff start for the North Stars in the series, a 2.52 average.
And the greatest speculation surrounding the St. Louis team, who would Brian Sutter start? He has surprised just about everybody, including me. Vincent Riendeau back in there. He has had no luck against the North Stars. He hasn't really had a strong outing against the North Stars yet, but he was tops during the regular season for the Blues, so Brian Sutter said, I'm going to stick with him.
From Erin, Ontario, Terry Gregson is the referee, Gord Brossiker, Randy Mitten, the linesman, the standby official, Dennis LaRue, the off-ice officials from Chicago. The lineup submitted by Bob Gainey reads Bellows, Smith, and Stu Gavin. Brian Sutter doesn't care that Gavin's out. He comes right in with his strength in Oates, Hall, and Gino Cavallini. Paul Cavallini on defense, along with Garth Butcher for St. Louis. Chris Dahlquist and Mark Tenorti for Minnesota, and the Blues dump it in. Tenorti stepped into by Gino Cavallini. Centering pass by Oates comes back to Butcher. Shovels one. That hit someone in front. It was Gino Cavallini. Picked up by Bobby Smith and flipped back out again.
We have talked about how difficult it is to read defensively when you're shadowing somebody. Gavin had Hall, went way back in. Bobby Smith was already back in. That's why the point man was wide open.
Here come the North Stars back out. It's a 3-on-2 led by Tenorti. Hands over for Bellows. Bellows a shot blocked away. Butcher taps it along, and Adam Oates there to just flip it back out. Well, you have to think what might be going through Vincent Riendeau's mind, because he has yielded a goal on one of the first 2 shots a couple of times already in this series and was chased a couple of times in Minnesota. I would think he'd want to handle the puck quickly, although he has not done that yet. 55 seconds gone here in the first period of Game 5 from the arena in St. Louis. Moving in is Basson. Basson couldn't get to the front. Checked off of him by Sean Chambers. Sutter on him in the corner. Moving in is Gagne too. Able to sweep it along, but Brown waiting. One time's a pass that swirled along for Gagne to take over. Gagne wedged off, but gets some help from Brian Propp. Propp shakes it across for Mike Craig, and now the North Stars can play it out. They'll right to Scott Stevens. Shift change on for Minnesota. Wilkinson and Giles come out on defense. Duchesne, Modano, and Broughton up front. The Blues make a change. Falling is Stevens. In comes Broughton. Leaned on by Tuttle, and the little pass is harmlessly over to Brown. Right back ahead, he hands for Dan Quinn. Shovels for Brindamore. Tries to get by and does. Score!
The Blues may have accomplished more than they think in scoring first. Rod Brindamore has struggled throughout the playoffs. That was a super move to get by the defenseman, and man, did he bury this up high, through and by John Casey. But right there as he went around Neil Wilkinson, he kept driving, upper body strength. He has tons of that. Looked like it beat John Casey right under the arm. So they've got Brindamore going now. He has scored one, and they have stopped the North Stars from getting on the board first. The longest it's taken the North Stars to score in this series, 3 minutes and 34 seconds of the first period, and the Blues, until this game, had not scored first once.
A pad stop by Casey. The pick up by Brian Glenn, and Glenn waits behind. Brindamore second at 1:46. One assist to Jeff Brown. Blues rush in with their forechecking, but the North Stars can break it as Bobby Smith connects with Bellows. This one ricochets over to Marois. Turned out off of Brian Glenn. Bellows after him, away from Oates, plays it back. Hat tie to the air and into the seats by Bobby Smith, and so play is stopped.
Brian Sutter has decided he's going to go down swinging. He has made 4 lineup changes for tonight. Pat Jablonski, who came in relief of Vincent Riendeau twice in Minnesota, is a scratch. Curtis Joseph is backing up Riendeau. Rick Mahar, Glenn Featherstone, Kelly Chase, all removed from the lineup. In their places, Ron Wilson, Harold Sneps, Steve Tuttle. The North Stars, same lineup as Game 4.
So often we've talked about the importance of a lead to the Minnesota North Stars. Now they don't have it. What's the significance to the Blues?
Well, the significance is that they, for once, I mean, it's a little early to go into a prevent defense. Let's play it. Let's face it. But the Blues on the brink of elimination, you grasp at straws. You look for anything that's positive in a hockey game. The most positive thing that can happen to a team in a hockey game is scoring, and especially scoring first. So they have that now.
Glenn with a drive, and that rocketed off the glass. Chambers a shot. That went off a skate. Marois can't clear. Up with it, Gavin. Feeds to the back. Chambers with a keep on the bouncer. Flips one in front. Oh, and it changed direction. But there to get a piece of it was Riendeau, and then a hard hit by Harold Sneps. Marois cuts off the pass by Gavin. Rolls it along, and Tomlinson hit, but outlets on for the carry by Ron Wilson. Along for Kimball. Flipped it into Glenn. Neutralized play by Garth Butcher now. 1-0 St. Louis, 17:05 to go in the first period of our game tonight from the arena. 2 shots for the St. Louis Blues and 1 for the North Stars thus far. Bobby Smith brings it back up. Cranks one off the wall. Skips back over. Plenty of Blues there to play it. Brind'Amour able to turn it along for Garth Butcher to handle. Butcher stepped into by Propp. Trying to get it loose, and coming in is Gagne. Shovel shot fought off by the goaltender Riendo, and then dumped back out again by Brind'Amour, and he was sent flying on a check by Chris Dahlquist. Tenorti plays it along. Kick loose off of Craig. He's able to recover back for Dahlquist. They wanted to start it ahead for Propp, but that turned aside by Paul Cavallini. Dahlquist tries to jam it out, and it went off of Basson. Basson and Gagne test in the corner, and Gagne able to kick it behind, and Dahlquist there. Rushed by Rich Sutter. Puck back up the boards to the point. Basson fires, and that went wide. Off the back of the goal. It stuck there for a moment. Trying to knock it loose is Brind'Amour. Locks up with Tenorti, who pinned it. And so there'll be a stoppage of play and a little more here. Tenorti and Brind'Amour after the whistle. .16:05 to go in the first period. We'll pick up the penalty calls and be right back. The Blues are in the lead, 1-0.
A couple of penalties, one to Tenorti, one to Brind'Amour here in the first period. Won't affect the manpower. North Stars had a chance to tie it up. Little screen shot that deflected off Harold Snepsts. Just got by the outside of the post on Vincent Riendo. John Casey thought that puck was coming out the other side. It got on the back of the net. Tenorti and Brind'Amour started pretty innocently. It just escalated from there, and they clawed back and forth on one another. Roughing to both of them at 3:55 of the first.
Wilkinson playing behind for Minnesota. Lost it. Giles tried to fight it loose, but Casey interceded, and we're going to get a penalty call coming up, and it's going to be against Minnesota. Terry Gregson has signaled a trip. And Kurt Giles is the North Star who will drift to the penalty box.
Well, now we'll see if the Blues power play is back. Brett Hull was quoted yesterday as saying it's easy to score power play goals when you're losing 8-2. There's the trip on Dave Lowry by Kurt Giles. Hull said it's a lot tougher to score than when you're tied 1-1 or when you're winning 2-1 or losing 2-1. Well, the Blues are up 1-0, so I think this would fit into one of those categories. So we'll see if the Blues are back.
The series, St. Louis 5 for 25 on the power play. Bill mentioned the power play earned the Blues a check mark in the edge, though one with a certain amount of reticence, only because it finally started to show something the last game, even though it was in a lopsided affair. Oh, and Stu Gavin trying to get loose for a breakaway. Now pivots and yanks a pass through, and it's an offside play. Broughton had to reach back for it after it crossed the line, hoping that the pass would come to him in stride. But that canceled out a Neil Broughton breakaway.
You know, maybe that's a small sign, but you have to know that the Blues sitting on the bench will look at this play and say, maybe this thing is going to turn around. Stu Gavin's stumble, that was something that happened that favored the Blues. Then when he tried that back pass, Neil Broughton was a little too far ahead. Gavin didn't get the puck to him in time, and they were spared a breakaway pass. When has that happened in this series? It's all seemed to go the way of the North Stars. It didn't that time.
Boy, and just by an inch or two, Broughton was unable to drag his foot and maintain contact with the line, which is what he would have needed. Puck popped out of play at the St. Louis bench, so once again, there'll be a neutralized faceoff. 1:40 to go on the minor to Kurt Giles. 15:36 left in the first, and the Blues have the lead in the game 1-0. Neil Broughton, the all-time leading Minnesota North Stars scorer, sporting one of those chops on the bridge of the nose that Basil McRae has, and welts and scars are worn by a number of players on both of these teams, especially by this far in Stanley Cup play. Puck wedged on by Paul Cavallini to Brown, put on the brakes and brushed it in. Tomlinson gets it there. Back for Brown again. Jeff Brown tries for Tomlinson, but it's kicked loose, and a second effort by the North Stars is able to send it back down. 2 shots apiece. 15:08 to go in the first. Blues ahead 1-0 in a minute 10 to go on their first power play of the evening. It's ahead for Dan Quinn. Sized up by Chambers. It's dropped from Hall to the back. Paul Cavallini hands back over for Oates to Hall, and a shot is deflected to the glass by Dahlquist. Popped onto the back of the goal, and we get a whistle and stoppage of play.
Well, this new wrinkle in the Blues power play looked real good in Minnesota in Game 4. It was successful once, and it involves Brett Hull being down low on the power play and getting the puck and stepping out in front. It starts up high. Minnesota aggressive on the kill. See the 2 guys in green that are up at the top of the box. Well, as soon as you get it into Brett Hull, he's going to take 1 stride. He's going to look for a pass and fire away at John Casey. That should keep the North Stars, if nothing else, honest in the sense that they're going to have to play back in a little bit. That should open up the top. So now perhaps a couple of different areas from which the attack can come on the Blues power play.
So we might look for some point shots coming up now rather than working it in deep.
They cheat back in now to try and take care of Brett Hull. They all have to cheat back in, and that should leave somebody up top open.
All right, here's Brown trying to worm his way through. Hands over for Quinn. Little pass for Hall. Lost, though, and Mark Bureau turned it back out. As was a pass just seemed ill-advised. That's close quarters enough that the North Stars were able to intercede. Chambers up for Bureau. Flipped one that went over the reach of Paul Cavallini and back out to the last 18 seconds of the power play for the St. Louis Blues. Blues hearing it a little bit from their fans here. Fans have short memories. This is a team that scored 4 power play goals in the last game. Blues are guilty of icing while on the power play.
You know, the penalty killing situation is not that difficult to understand or to describe. You've got 4 guys out there, and they have to maintain a certain closeness to one another. If they play up high in the zone, you can do what's called getting under the power play. You play it in deep because your defensemen move up from in front. If your 4 guys as a unit play back in deep, then your top guys on the point are going to be open in the power play. If the top guys play up and the bottom guys play back, then you're going to have room in the middle of it, aren't you? In the slot area. So it's a unit that has to move as a unit.
I was always hearing a stat out of the old hockey textbook that 1 out of 50 of those point shots go in. I have to feel that there's a better ratio in that. Otherwise, why would teams try to feed the point so often?
That's when Bobby Bond was shooting it, though. Yes, I don't know. Scott Stevens and Jeff Brown and Mark Tenorti and guys like that are out there now.
Well, that may have been a very old textbook. You're right. Stevens hands on to Butcher. Penalty time is up now to Giles, and he's back out on the ice as the Blues dump it in. Tenorti goes back. Tuttle right on him. Third man by Dahlquist, plays for Gavin. Outlets to Broughton. Broughton watched there by 2 men. Feeds over for Tenorti. A shot went wide, and Tenorti went sprawling to the corner. He has not yet gotten up. Mark Tenorti shaken up in the corner, and the North Stars now flip it back in. It ricocheted back out, and Tenorti is just now to his feet and getting back in the play. I think he'll head to the bench.
He really looked hurt, Mike, on the way down. He dropped his stick before he even hit the ice.
Pass ahead went off of Ron Wilson. Worked across now by Glenn, dumped out by Chambers, and twirling with it as Bobby Smith picks up Basil McRae along the way, and now Smith accelerates, trying to shake by, drops it in. McRae burrows in right after it, has Bellows nearby, tried to get it to him and did, but it ricocheted on the Bellows pass to Tuttle, and we get a stoppage of play and a charging penalty coming up against the St. Louis Blues. So the North Stars will get their first power play of the game. 7 minutes into the first, the Blues leading 1-0.
Bob Basson sure had an aggressive series. He was aggressive against Detroit as well, but this time he's been called for charging at the 7-minute mark of the first period. Bellows was out there. Basil McRae was out there. And Scott Stevens was working away. Bob Basson lined up Brian Bellows, and I think it was because he ended up elevated that Terry Grayson called it. Basson jumped right into him.
Gagne in for the faceoff. Opposite Ron Wilson. It's one back to Broughton. North Stars were 4 for 8 in the last game on the power play. 8 for 25 they are in the series. Broughton to Bellows, fires one, and that's slowed down by Wilson. Over to get it, Paul Cavallini duels there with Brian Propp. Cavallini flips one, Wilson kicked it across, and Lowry spins it back down. Played almost 7.5 minutes with only 4 total shots, 2 aside. The Blues have the lead 1-0. Broughton moves in, hands over for Bellows, then hurried by Propp, but into traffic, and Paul Cavallini able to swing it back out. Tenorti is apparently all right as he's out there on that power play to hand over for Gagne. Dueled away from him by Sneps. Gathered in by Rich Sutter. Sutter a pass, and Oates is able to gather it. He's got Sutter in. A fire by Oates, and a hold by John Casey.
When the North Stars have trouble in their power play, and we've seen it in this series, it comes in phase one, and that is getting it up ice and setting up in the zone. You know, they surprise me. They have attacked through the neutral zone with speed. Neil Broughton, they like to get the puck to him, but they've hurried their plays. They haven't taken their time when they've gotten set up in the blue zone, and the Blues have stopped them a couple of times at the blue line, counterattacked, and they look for their gunners up ice immediately. That time it went to Adam Oates. He was getting closed off, so he let one fly, but you notice John Casey way out of the net. Has to be aggressive, he says, to be successful, and he's been aggressive. That's why he's been successful in this series.
Oates and Bobby Smith for the faceoff with a minute 12 to go on the North Stars power play. 12-12 left in the first. If you're just joining us tonight on Sports Channel, it's 1-0 in favor of the St. Louis Blues on Brindamore's second from Brown early at 1:46. And scoring early in the first has been the province of the North Stars up until this game. Puck fired around the boards. It kicked off of Oates, fed by Stevens, not out, kept by Modano. He's got a man in front, Craig. Tried to feed it across the ice. Puck knocked loose to the slot and gathered in by Rich Sutter. Makes them chase. Wilson and Lowry up front for the penalty-killing St. Louis Blues now. Stevens and Butcher remain in back. Modano shakes it on across for Chambers, able to pull away from Lowry. Sean Chambers walks it on, tries to get through and does. A shot, a toe save made by Riendo, and he hangs on. It wasn't necessarily a burst of speed, but a pretty good move by Chambers to just pick his way right through the defense.
It was persistent speed. I mean, I was going to accuse Sean Chambers of being impatient because the North Stars power play has looked impatient. They're trying to make passes that aren't there. And here's a guy trying to attack the D-men, a 1-on-2, and when you've got Butcher and Stevens back there, I mean, what chance do you give Sean Chambers of getting through? Maybe Butcher and Stevens were thinking the same thing, but Chambers just kept on trucking. There was room in between. A little shot away, wasn't able to get it up, but persistent speed is what that was, and it ended up with a scoring chance. But in general, I think the North Stars are a little tight, man. It's natural. The young guys, I'm sure, have been told by the old guys, relax out there. We have to beat them for 60 minutes, not just the first 10. But sometimes that's hard to get through to the kids. Modano really tried to force a pass there at one point.
Wilson tries to get through. Casey blocks that one away, but a penalty against Minnesota. 11:16 to go in the first. 1-0 St. Louis. Let's pause for this regional break. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs from the arena in St. Louis on Sports Channel.
This is a KBL News Break brought to you by KDKA TV2's Eyewitness News.
Good evening. I'm Stacy Smith. The stalemate continues in the Giant Eagle strike. Both sides went back to the bargaining table today, but nothing was accomplished. Some angry words reportedly were exchanged, and each side is accusing the other of bargaining in bad faith. No other talks are scheduled. And the labor rally planned for the day of the Pittsburgh Marathon has been rescheduled. It will now be held the day before the marathon. The city of Pittsburgh received almost $700,000 of federal money to study and develop a magnetic levitation train from downtown to the airport. Music may help reduce pain. A study at Presbyterian University's hospital emergency room shows patients treated for cuts who listened to music on headsets reported less pain than patients who got the silent treatment. This has been a KBL News Break, sponsored by KDKA TV Eyewitness News. More at 11 on Eyewitness News Tonight.
Oates on the tie-up. Puck wedged loose by Broughton and brought on by Dahlquist. Little pass for Gavin. Punches it, hoping for Broughton. Broughton tried to get a shot away, but was canceled right out by Brown, and hanging on is Riendo, and play once again stopped. 6 seconds to go on the minor penalty to Basson, and then the power play will begin for St. Louis.
Pretty good job here by Jeff Brown. Keep in mind the Blues are really a slower team up front. They respect Minnesota's forward speed. You have to pick up a guy and get as close as you can to him as he comes across the blue line, and Brown did that. If they get a step on you laterally, a guy like Neil Broughton will just keep going all the way around you. So good defensive play by Jeff Brown there.
Mark Bureau, the rookie, to take the face-off opposite Adam Oates. Hall out with Oates, Brown, and Paul Cavallini. Off the face-off, it's Paul Cavallini around to Brown. All right, Basson out of the box. Heads right for the bench. And so Brindamore will be the extra forward on the power play now. Brown yanks it across over for Adam Oates. Pretty looking play. Hull unable to dance by, and everything thrown off on the offside. The degree of difficulty was kind of high on that move, and he pulled it off, but unfortunately in so doing, the whole play got thrown off a little bit too.
You know, we hear so much and talk so much about Brett Hull's quick shot, and that is one of his greatest assets, but I think his most underrated asset is his physical power. 5'10", 202 pounds, and it's mostly muscle. I think his second most underrated asset is his speed. You never hear about Brett Hull's speed. He's faster than you think. And I think the third, his work ethic. He works a lot harder than people give him credit for.
Boy, Bureau almost had an opportunity there, but the bouncing puck foiled that as Hull hands it back for Paul Cavallini, then to Brown. Paul Cavallini fires a shot and dubbed it. Oates finessed one for Hull, but instead got Bureau. The stick of Paul Cavallini broken, so he regains one as the North Stars play it back in deep. 10:20 to go in the first period. St. Louis ahead in the game 1-0, and 1 minute left now on the Blues' second power play. Cavallini shuffles it on his backhand to the boards. Casey out to foist it along, hoping for Broughton, but it's jammed right back near Brindamore. Popped off of him by Chambers. Helped along, though, for Stu Gavin. Gavin takes a look and wants to wedge one over for Broughton, but he had to pop it all the way back down because of the Blues' attack on him. Around it came, and the Blues started out. Oates, pestered by Broughton, drops it off. Gavin there, left it behind, checked off by Brown. It's brought on now by Scott Stevens, hacked at by Dahlquist. Stevens gets behind the net, hands it off for Quinn, but it's given right away to Chambers, who starts it back up for Broughton. Short-handed the North Stars, still for 20 seconds. Broughton with a drive, popped up in the air off the blocker of the goaltender Vincent Riengo, and it is Quinn just shuttling one back off the stick of Adam Oates. So some keep away by the North Stars. And the Blues fans again, some of them booing the efforts by St. Louis on the power play. Out of the box, Bobby Smith. Teams are at full strength with 9:10 to go in the first, and St. Louis ahead 1-0. Wilson drops one to the corner. Brett Hull in to get it. Hit hard on the play, emerging with it and turning it back up was McRae. Churla's pass flagged down by Harold Snaps. Connects with Wilson. Has Hull swirling and looks to him. Drilled one ahead off the skate of Tomlinson. Basil McRae hit Tomlinson and went down heavily to the ice. Marois pivots with this one. Shane Churla wanted to get to him, but Marois hands to Tomlinson, then over for Steve Tuttle. Tuttle drops it back in deep. Casey right behind the net to get it. Dumps one off. Tomlinson has it. Stepped into by Churla. And Tenorti controlling now for Minnesota. Tenorti hit by Tuttle. Jams it on across. Chambers connects with Bobby Smith. Moving out with McRae. Bobby Smith wants to go by Harold Snaps. Can he do it? Forced behind and taken right to the boards and glass by the veteran defenseman. Now McRae in deep, trying to pull away from Tuttle. Hands over for Smith. No one in the slot. Then Churla there, and he fanned on the shot. Brian Glynn wheels with it. North Stars move back on the attack. Glynn took some lumber from Snaps. Tries to center, but Marois says no. Glynn once again, stoppage of play. There's going to be a penalty coming up. We'll pick up the call and be right back. 7:57 to go in the first. St. Louis leading 1-0.
Richie Sutter's off for interference. 12:03 here, the first period. Super shift by Bobby Smith. Man, oh man. Did Harold Snaps ever take him to the boards? And then Snaps wouldn't let him go. He kept poking with the left hand. One poke, two, three. Then as he turned back, the puck went to Bobby Smith, and watch this perfect feed for Shane Churla. Fanned on it. Great pass by Bobby Smith and good concentration in spite of the fact that Harold Snaps was poking him in the chin.
Interference at 12:03 to Sutter. Second power play of the game for Minnesota. The first one was a shorter one than the normal 2 minutes. Gagne couldn't center. Butcher there to get it. Butcher tried to drive it around the boards and got some help from Lowry to turn it back down. John Casey rushed by Basson, pass Drew Broughton, and Lowry can keep it for the shorthanded Blues. Lowry heads behind, taken to the boards by Broughton. Help came from Basson, but it squirted to Gagne, and it started back out again by Bellows. Bellows moving along with Brian Propp. Gave it up to Stevens, and Stevens just shuffles it high and off the glass, right between the benches. That rare trio of pains between the two team benches, so he got a break on that one as it caromed down. Bellows drives this off the higher glass. Prop there to get it. Able to force it behind, but Stevens took over. Couldn't get it by Chambers. Stepped into by Wilson. Puck punched along by Stevens. Chambers couldn't control. Diving to the ice. Tries once more. Brushed back out by Wilson, and here is Oates. And this play is whistled back. Gord Brosiker, the linesman, was pointing at Oates all the way, saying if he takes it, it is an offside pass, and that was the case.
And Adam Oates hasn't uttered one word of protest, so you know that he knows he was offside. I'm so surprised that Vincent Riendeau started this hockey game. Adam Oates alluded to the fact that not all of the goals were deflections that went in by Vincent Riendeau. He said, boy, they scored 8. It couldn't have been all deflections off skates, and a lot of people felt that he was really taking a shot at Riendeau. Vincent Riendeau has been quoted in every publication in the Midwest as saying, I don't know, every shot seems to be going in. Those comments would indicate that he doesn't have much confidence. Then you add to those facts the fact that Brian Sutter pulled Riendeau in 2 consecutive games. Now, how confident could a guy like Vincent Riendeau be right now? That's why I'm surprised. Brian Sutter has been with him all season long, knows him a lot better than I do and all the writers, so he has decided to go with him, and so far he hasn't disappointed. But don't you find that he's getting a lot more protection tonight than in any other game early in the tilt?
Yeah, you just know that the confidence is so vulnerable that they've really worked around him. The North Stars now with a blast by Glenn, and that turned aside by Snaps. And you had to think the North Stars thought this whole thing over too and said, boy, if we can get one by. Chambers a shot, and that deflected to the glass. Picked up by Craig. Mike Craig to the point now. Wilkinson drove one past Bobby Smith on the pass attempt, and it came back for Chambers. Finessed one, but missed for Craig. Smith again. 10 seconds left. Power play. Back to Wilkinson. Drive, and a save made by Riendeau. Wilkinson able to keep it alive. It's dumped back to the point. Good keep by Chambers. Chambers just holding down to the last 2 seconds of the man advantage. Along it comes for Craig. Then to Smith. Got a shot away, and that blocked aside. And then Craig foisted it to the circle. Sutter up with that, then along to Oates, drops it off the wall, but Chambers there to brush it loose. In stride, Mark Bureau. Blues in the midst of a change. Bureau a drive, turned aside by Riendeau. Hip check attempt by Stevens didn't work out, and Bureau goes down. I think Brindamore on top. Bureau is hurt in the corner, now gets up and starts back into the play. Brown flipped one that is spiked down by Wilkinson. Brown tries to jam it on. Oh, and a hit by Shane Churla popped the helmet right off of Jeff Brown. Turn back for Brown. Skies one off the glass. Terry Gregson just went down. Bodies starting to fly all over the place, including those of the third team. Brindamore tries to get by. Hit by Wilkinson. Brindamore again, and Wilkinson right on him. To the corner they go to battle once more. Off it came for Hull. Right after him is Stu Gavin. Wilkinson can start it back for the North Stars. Under 5 minutes to play in the first. St. Louis has the lead in the game 1-0 on a goal by Rod Brindamore at 1:46. Brown saw his life go right by him again as Shane Churla had him in his sights. Puck came back now for Dahlquist. Shunted loose by Brown. Turned back to Mark Tenorti, and the big defenseman hands it across to Chris Dahlquist. The ex-Penguin playing back on defense with the ex-Ranger and plays it to him. Then back up the boards for Gavin. Stu Gavin brings it back out. Gavin, one of the most impressive players in this series for Minnesota. Dahlquist tries to get by, run off by Butcher, and the puck picked up by Gino Cavallini, who brings it back. Cavallini hands over for Dan Quinn. Left it behind, but regathers. Spins one that Casey will step out to play. Lifts it along the boards past Gino Cavallini. Popped further by Prop, but off the forechecking Quinn. Prop trying to get away from Quinn again, and is able to move it back up the wing for Craig. Knocked off of him by Paul Cavallini, but Craig dumps it in. Riendeau out of his goal. Prop comes to him, so it's yanked along on the backhand to Paul Cavallini. 3:50 to go in the first. 1-0 St. Louis. Tuttle with a pass for Oates. Moves it over for Tuttle. Crossing around, and he couldn't get it by. Chambers tries to nudge it behind. Tuttle up with it there. Over for Tomlinson, and he dubbed the shot. Drilled along off the stick of Marois. Pops near Mike Modano. He's got Broughton breaking. Modano a shot off the chest of Riendeau, and behind it is handled by Paul Cavallini. Shoveled off a glass support. Finesse move by Broughton. Chambers up with it. Can't get to the front. Here's a follow-up by Duchesne. Duchesne heads back behind the goal. Still able to get loose after the poke check attempt of Oates. Then it spun the boards, and Wilkinson fires one that came right to Broughton. Deep slot shot. Kicked loose by Duchesne. Picked up by Oates. Oh, it's a little scrambly out there now as Oates lifts one back. Chambers has trouble with it, and Tomlinson couldn't get by. And this is the first period. 2:50 to go in the first. St. Louis ahead 1-0. Broughton's pass controlled by Modano, swept back in, and a shift change both sides.
But there's been a transition in the second half of this first period. The North Stars have definitely settled down. I mean, they are in control of their own game, and that's all they can do.
Bellows over to Bobby Smith, centers one, and that knocked loose in Bellows' fan. Now here's a shot by Tenorti that went off of Sutter. Lowry starts right back up ice again. It's a 3-on-2. Dave Lowry with Sutter, and down on the ice all the way back in the St. Louis defensive end is Bobby Smith. We have a stoppage of play and a St. Louis penalty coming up when we return.
Well, you talk about a bad way to kill a 3-on-2 rush. The Blues were breaking down an absolute clear 3-on-2, a mile behind the play. Bobby Smith and Garth Butcher were going at it. Butcher ended up being called for a trip. Here's the play as it was coming at Vincent Riendo. The trip happened a little bit after that as the play was heading back up ice. But it sure squashed a 3-on-2. So with 2:27 to go in the first period, the North Stars on a power play. They dodged a bullet on a 3-on-2 and now get a power play to boot.
Big point blaster Mark Tenorti. Played for Lethbridge in the Western Hockey League. That's the same team that most of the Sutters came through in junior hockey. Wound up with the Rangers and then Minnesota. Spent some time with their farm team in Kalamazoo. But has he ever grown not only in physical stature but in the maturity of his play? And he's earned his way onto the power play, which swings into action here with 2 minutes and 12 seconds to go in the first period. St. Louis ahead 1-0. Hustling is Gagne. Couldn't get by Paul Cavallini. Rushed back out again by Wilson. Tenorti, Broughton, Prop, Bellows, and Gagne are the 5 attackers for the North Stars. Wilson working with Lowry, Scott Stevens, and Paul Cavallini in back for St. Louis. Broughton over to Gagne. Right on him is Wilson. Works him over with the stick. Puck back to Tenorti. Hands it over for Broughton again. Neil Broughton waits, draws Lowry toward him, works it over for Bellows. Bellows then back to Broughton. Bellows again, Gagne at the left of the net. That's where they were trying to work it, and they get it there. They try to see Prop in front, but boy, it was quickly watched. Just as soon as there was an opening, it was closed. Broughton again. Tenorti with a blast, blocked away by Lowry. Gagne tried to center. Prop took it there. Bellows moves to the front as they work the outside. Tenorti shoveled one side of the net. Gagne looks for Bellows. Can't stuff it home as it's forced off by Riendo, and then he traps for a stoppage of play. And now some shoving after the whistle.
Well, the North Stars are accomplishing what they're setting out to do, and that is isolate one blue on a 2-on-1. That is always the process of the power play. You've got one more guy out there than the opposition, so get it close to the net and then try and set up a 2-on-1 situation. And Gagne and Prop did that. Just weren't able to get it home. Gagne tried to jab it by.
1:16 to go in the first. Blues ahead 1-0.
The last action had the North Stars Tenorti move it in. There's the 2-on-1 I was talking about. You've got Gagne and Bellows in front. On Paul Cavallini, number 14, Brian Prop got there as a third guy to try and jam it home, and then he got banging away with Dave Lowry. But good play by Tenorti. If that defenseman is aggressive on the side, the way Scott Stevens was, it goes back to Tenorti, right into Gagne, and you've got the 2-on-1 set up instantly because there's only one defenseman left in front. What's happening here now? What's the penalty call? I only see 3 Blues out there.
Ron Wilson got a cross-checking penalty for some of his stick work earlier in that flourish at 18:44, and so Minnesota will get a 5-on-3. They are 3 for 4 in the playoffs on 5-on-3s, and the Blues have failed to kill off both of the 2 they've faced. One against Detroit, one against the North Stars. The last 7 shots in the game have belonged to Minnesota, pointing up what Bill had said of the way this game has turned from the first 10 minutes to the last. 10 shots to 3 Minnesota, and they should get several on this power play. 1:10 to go in the period. Puck floated off the boards. Bellows takes it there. Gives it back to Broughton. Broughton just waits. Across. Big shot by Modano, and it was forced away by Stevens. Bellows tries to center one, and it kicked back over for Broughton. Stoppage of play. High stick is signaled by the referee, Terry Gregson. To the box will go Gagne. It'll be a 4-on-3 when we come back.
Bob Basson was trying to get to the play to break it up. Dave Gagne got a little high with the stick on him. There's Gagne, 15 for the North Stars. A little bit of a tug on Basson. That's all it took for Terry Gregson to call it. So it's a 4-on-3 for 30 seconds. That's when Butcher gets back out.
Bobby Smith tangles up off the faceoff with Basson as you watch Broughton play it. In the final 50 of this first period. Broughton tries to get it through. Bellows nudged it further. Paul Cavallini failed on the sweep. Bobby Smith battles with Basson. Tenorti coming by, and Paul Cavallini just able to muscle it back out. So Broughton will turn with it there. Butcher will be out in 5 seconds. Then it'll be a 4-on-4. Bobby Smith in. Drops to Tenorti. Over to Broughton. Broughton couldn't get it through to Smith. Denied by Paul Cavallini. Smith up with it. Oh, and he hurried one in front, thinking he had Bellows there, and he did. But Stevens in the way, and Butcher just lays it back in. Butcher and Tenorti duel. Down to the last 12 seconds of the period, and Casey waited the longest time before lifting that away from Adam Oates. It is Tenorti walking back out. Time for maybe one big blast from neutral ice. 3 seconds to go in the period. Tenorti can't get loose to shoot as the horn sounds to end the first period of play. Brind'Amour his second from Brown at 1:46. The Blues had 3 of the first 6 shots in the game, but the North Stars got the next 7. Shots on goal, Minnesota 10, the Blues 3. We're at the end of the first 20 minutes of our contest. 1-0, St. Louis ahead. Let's pause for this regional break. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs from the arena in St. Louis on Sports Channel. It takes capital and lots of it to own a sports team, and that's why owners are not normally viewed as men of the people, but the owner of a rare relationship with the fans of his team and the owner of these Minnesota North Stars is one of those rare people, Norm Green. And he has joined us alongside here. Norm signing autographs at one of the playoff games. Was the relationship that you had with the fans always this strong from the time you started owning the team?
Yeah, right from the beginning. I walked the concourses to get to know the fans. I originally started it to find out really what their needs were. And then we kind of developed a friendship, and now I kind of enjoy it.
Well, back in the early stages of this season, the attendance was in the 5,000 and 6,000 range, and you were trying all sorts of promotions and so forth. Was there a time during the dead of winter that you just thought, I don't know if we're going to make this thing work or not?
Yeah, but we gave it a 2-year plan. When the Mall of America opens up in August of '92, I thought that would give us a big boost, and it would be a mistake to give up before that. So we gave ourselves 2 years, but of course, when we had it for Montreal on January 15th, only 5,000 people turned up. I didn't think that even after 2 years we'd make it, but I was really hoping, and we stayed with it, and things started to come together. And the most important thing that's come together, of course, is how the fellows played on the ice. And after All-Star break, they looked like All-Stars, and I was really proud of them, and knew then that we would be okay.
Well, you were talking about a 2-year plan. I'm just wondering if all of this winning has speeded up your plan a little bit.
Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, the 2-year plan was to assess whether we can make it or not. That issue is done. It speeded up a whole year, and we now know we're okay. We've had a tremendous response to our season ticket campaign, which is the most important thing and to our long-term success, and that's gone very well. And our team on the ice, we know is a good team, and look at the performance they have. And our fans and the entire community, everywhere you go, whether it's cars or bars or restaurants, are now for the first time talking hockey, where they used to talk some other sports before that. It really is a huge turnaround, and now we're okay, and we're looking to build for the future.
Well, we're accustomed to seeing those green uniforms. I understand there's going to be a change in that regard for next year, among all the changes that you've developed over the course of a year.
Yeah, I think that black in sports has proven to be an intimidating and strong color. It's good on the marketplace, and it's good on the playing ice surface. We've had a few more calls since our team is doing well, saying, you know, if you happen to get lucky, and if you happen to win this next round, and the next round, and the next round, and you get the Stanley Cup, are you still going to change your colors? Well, The answer is yes, but we'll do it more with a little bit more respect for our tradition.
Norm, congratulations on what's been accomplished already this year, and best of luck to you and your team.
Thank you.
He said he would feel like he won the lottery if they defeated Chicago. I think it may be a double lottery, or maybe the California one, if they can pull off this upset over St. Louis. More coming up in a moment.
On persistent dandruff, Head & Shoulders Intensive Treatment presents the NHL's greatest hits. Clean, rugged hits are one of the NHL's most dramatic features. Hulking defenseman Jeff Buckaboom is a true heavy hitter. The 215-pounder's bone-rattling checks have helped the Edmonton Oilers win 3 Stanley Cups during his first 5 NHL seasons. Jeff Buckaboom delivers some of the NHL's greatest hits.
Welcome back to our Stanley Cup studios in New York. I'm Bob Papa. The Penguins with a 1-0 lead over the North Stars at the end of one period of play, the St. Louis Blues. Now we talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins. They were quite fortunate in beating the Devils in the opening round of the playoffs. They sewed up their series with the Capitals last night, an impressive 4-1 win. In Pittsburgh, we take a look at the highlights. First period action. Capitals a little bit sloppy. Yuri Hrdina finds Joey Mullen, who scores on the top shelf. 1-0 Penguins. Second period action. The Caps get back in it. Dave Tippett tips one past Tom Barrasso. 2-1 Penguins. But Barrasso, a gorgeous stick save here. Watch him rob Kelly Miller. Barrasso always good with the stick, and he blanks Miller cold. Third period, Pittsburgh will put the game away. Jaromir Jagr from an impossible angle. Pittsburgh wins it 3-1. Quite happy in the locker room afterwards.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's been such a struggle for the whole organization since I've been here, and it's just such a great step to see all the guys that have been here through all the troubles. Bob Hury, Phil Bourque, Randy Hillier, Mario, and to finally see us come together and play a good, solid series and a good, win the conference is unbelievable.
9 years I've been in this organization, and like you said, I've been rode the buses and I toughed it out, and I knew once we worked hard and got to where we wanted to be, we'd end up in a position like this where we have a chance to go pretty far here.
All right, well, you hear from some happy Penguins. Things not as happy, though, with the Los Angeles Kings. American college basketball fans have Dick Vitale. Canadian hockey fans have former Bruins coach Don Cherry. Cherry, who is an analyst for the CBC broadcast, implied that the Kings' Steve Kasper was a wimp for missing games 2 and 3 with a concussion. Cherry and Kasper ran into each other at Wednesday morning skate-around, and here's how their conversation went without the 4-letter words. It started off like this. Don Cherry said, "You couldn't be any good. Boston got rid of you, and they don't get rid of good people." Response from Mr. Kasper? "They got rid of you." Touché. This series continues later on tonight on Sports Channel America, and we will join it following the Blues and North Stars. More of the 1991 Stanley Cup playoffs after this timeout right here on Sports Channel America.
This is a KBL News Break brought to you by KDKA TV2's Eyewitness News.
Good evening. I'm Stacy Smith. Talks between Giant Eagle and its 5,900 workers broke off this afternoon with no progress reported. Each side claims the other was bargaining in bad faith. Giant Eagle's workers walked off the job 5 days ago. Bad news for customers of West Penn Power. The company says electric bills could rise 10% by 1995. A man in Indianapolis was sentenced to 7 years in prison today for stealing a burger and fries from a customer at a McDonald's. The makers of Sudafed are putting the cold tablets back on the market. They were pulled after the cyanide-laced capsules killed 2 people. Tonight's weather forecast, fair and mild with a low of 52. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and warm with a high of 78. And Sunday will be variable cloudy with showers late in the day and a high of 80. This has been a KBL News Break sponsored by KDKA TV Eyewitness News. More at 11 on Eyewitness News tonight.
Here again at the arena in St. Louis, only 1 goal in the game, and it came very early. Rod Brind'Amour collected that one, and normally it's Minnesota's notion to score early in the game, but finally St. Louis has done it.
As I said, the Blues accomplished a lot. For one thing, Brind'Amour might find his confidence, but don't believe for a second that Brind'Amour picked this spot. Nice play by Dan Quinn to send him in once he knew he had a step on Neil Wilkinson. Watch where the puck goes. Brind'Amour shot this thing and it had eyes, and when you've been in a slump, you need a break like that. It went right up under John Casey's arm.
Brown wound up with 1 assist, and initially that was going to be the only one, but they did add an assist to Dan Quinn. on this goal by Brind'Amour. And that is the only one scored in this first period of play. Whether from this side of the ice or from the other side of the ice, cameras positioned all over this arena in St. Louis for the
Tonight's Stanley Cup playoff game on Sports Channel America is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft Light. There's only one light beer with a big taste of Miller Genuine Draft, cold-filtered Genuine Draft Light. By Valvoline, people who know use Valvoline. And by Finish 2001, the car polish of the future that brings back that showroom shine today.
Second period about to begin. Both teams are a man short. 44 seconds from the start of the period playing time. The St. Louis Blues will have a power play. It'll be their third of the contest, and it will last 19 seconds.
The Blues accomplished a couple of things in the first period. Number one, Vincent Riendeau wasn't pulled, so his confidence has to be a lot bigger now. Number two, they kept the North Stars from scoring. 11 of the North Stars' 17 goals in this series have come in the first period. The Blues blanked them here tonight.
Brown sends that one, and Hull leaves it for Oates to carry. Right back to Hull again, watched by Chambers. Hull tries to get through, shoved off by Chambers, and he takes over. 25 seconds from now, that short power play to St. Louis will begin. Stevens tried once to flick it through, now decides a more conservative play is in order, and so it goes to Jeff Brown and right back to Stevens again. Laid on for Adam Oates. In 15 seconds that power play starts. Oates trying to pick his way through, just drops it in deep, and Casey will be out to stop it. John Casey just holds, shovels it off for Chambers, and Chambers able to paddle it back up for Broughton. Broughton moving on with Tenorti now. Power play has begun for St. Louis. Minnesota with the puck. Holding on Tenorti, shoveled one, and this bounced over for Oates. Oates able to carry back out. He's got Wilson and Brett Hull along with him. Oates just deliberately brings it in, leaves over for Hull, then over for Brown. Forced off by Bureau. Hull hands to Paul Cavallini, and he shoots one that's blocked down. Penalty time is up. Teams at full strength. Brown flips one off the chest of Tenorti, and it's Bureau hustling it back out now for Dave Gagne, fresh from the penalty box. Gagne wants to step by, then plays one for Bureau, and he couldn't get the shot away, and then he went heavily into the boards. Dumped back out again by Oates, but played along now for Kurt Giles to handle. The captain of the North Stars flipped that one back down. Out to tap it is Riendeau. Leaves it there for Paul Cavallini to wheel back out. Cavallini's pass tapped by Tomlinson over for Oates. Dipped right back into the North Stars end. Casey yanks it around the boards, and waiting for it is Duchesne. Basson cut that one off. 18 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the second. St. Louis in the lead if you're just joining us, 1-0. Trailing in the series 3-1. Icing will be called against Minnesota. No shots thus far in the period, and 1:54 has been played.
Bob Gainey has been used to having the lead in the playoffs, especially over the last 7 games coming into tonight's tilt. The North Stars in their last 7 have led for 336 minutes and 1 second to the opposition's 12 and change. And the 12 and change came late in the only game in this series that the Blues won. The Blues have cut into that lead time a little bit in this one, scoring in the first period, and the North Stars haven't been able to get equal. But the North Stars have pretty well played with the lead. They were pretty impressive, I think, nevertheless, playing from behind in the first period. They came alive and dominated the last half of the first period.
Well, these are the types of guys you expect to stand up in the room when standing up is necessary, guys like Bobby Smith. He's in on the face-off with that man, Dan Quinn. Quinn with an assist on the only Blues goal of the night and the only one scored in the contest. Jeff Brown also assisted on Brind'Amour's tally in the first, and Brind'Amour is out there right now, number 19. Off the face-off, puck picked up by the North Stars and dumped back off. Gavin dumped it ahead. Quinn with a good keep. Tried for Brind'Amour and got him. Brind'Amour wrestled off by Wilkinson, and help came from Bellows, but Paul Cavallini's shot went wide. Brind'Amour was trying for the deflection. Butcher taps it back in. Brind'Amour tried to center. Gets it again. Out in front. Backhander went wide. Smith peels it off now for Bellows. Shakes one across for Chambers to carry. Chambers a pass up the wing too far for Gavin, who goes after it. He arrives first and cuts off the icing. Tripped up was Tuttle, and back ahead with it comes Quinn. It's a 3-on-3 right now. Quinn flipped one off of Bobby Smith, gathered in by Brind'Amour, and a shot by Tuttle was off the glass. Rushed back along and out by Gavin, and so the Blues will chase it down again. Shift change on. Gagne hops over the boards. Tenorti and Dahlquist do too. Brind'Amour drops it back. Butcher to play this for the St. Louis defense, but gave it up to Minnesota's defense in the person of Tenorti. Brought back on by Rich Sutter to Basson. Basson shot, and that went off Casey and popped over for Tenorti to scoop it back out for Gagne. The North Stars hustling right now at 3-on-3. Gagne moving in to Craig, and he had it poke checked away. Strong defensive play that time by Jeff Brown. Brown comes right back, gives over for Lowry. Poke checked away from him by Dahlquist, and they cancel one another. Bringing it on Tenorti once more. A 4-on-2 for the North Stars. Trying to catch up to it is Hull. Craig tapped one off Stevens. Tenorti to the corner trying to get it. Able to control. Mark Tenorti deals it on back. Craig couldn't get by a check. And now it's a 2-on-1, maybe a 3-on-1 for St. Louis. Lowry in with Basson. Giles back. Lowry couldn't get by the sprawling Kurt Giles. Puck to Lowry again. Couldn't get to the front. Stevens with it. Nudges one lamely off the boards, and it is Duchesne to fire it back around, and waiting is Brown. One-timer right on goal, and Casey stopped that one. Tenorti turns it back down the ice. Neil Broughton rushes back down. Icing waved off. Riendo scoops it with a big goal stick along for Gino Cavallini. Out of Bowling Green, Cavallini rolled this one along. Brett Hull, without his helmet now, tried to play, but it's kept by the North Stars and then left by Broughton. The Blues try again. Gino Cavallini couldn't keep this one. It's taken at center ice by Neil Wilkinson. Flipped it into Oates. Gino Cavallini nudges and Oates chases down. Chambers right there and got in the way of the centering pass. Modano takes it for Minnesota. 2 shots in this period, both off St. Louis Blues sticks. They set it up again. Oates for Hull, and it tipped right in on goal, and a save Casey. Now Harold Sneps with it. Sneps dumps it behind, but Chambers right there to get it. Hurries it along for Broughton, but it came back for Marois. One-timer was off of Oates. Casey way out of his goal, took some lumber from Oates, and Broughton lifts it back into the St. Louis end. Over the end line it goes. Cavallini with the touch. Clock stopped with 15:07 to go in the second.
Pain from just one sensitive tooth can start the domino effect. A chain reaction that can end in tooth loss. The pain can make you stop brushing, lead to plaque buildup, gingivitis, periodontal disease, even tooth loss. Sensodyne toothpaste helps stop the pain and the domino effect. Dentists recommend Sensodyne most for sensitive teeth. And Sensodyne is now available in a pump. Help stop the pain and the domino effect with Sensodyne.
The North Stars were under the gun, but they held tough. Excellent defensive play by Kurt Giles, but watch Dave Lowry make it so easy for him. Did he learn something on this? Well, hopefully not to wind up for a fake slap shot on a 2-on-1 because Giles took it away from him. After that, Blues still with pressure. A little tipper in front by Brett Hull. Perfect pass from Adam Oates. That's one thing Oates hasn't had a lot of in this series is time. Give it to him, he'll kill you.
Butcher a shot, and acrobatically blocked away by Casey, spun out by Bellows, dropped right back in again by Butcher. Dahlquist to play it, spins it on the boards. Bellows stepped into by Paul Cavallini. Dahlquist able to turn it back out, and Gavin trickled one through Butcher, hustling after it Bobby Smith. Brushed aside by Butcher. Smith able to take over though, and then it's knocked from him by Quinn. Steve Tuttle ahead with it for St. Louis. Tuttle deals it to Quinn. Quinn fed it in front, and Brindamore couldn't get it. Spun one across the goal mouth, and the net dislodged and play is stopped. How close can the Blues come? That time it was close, but no goal. They still lead 1-0.
We can't win if you can't stop Ricky Henderson.
When something on your mind,
This could get ugly.
or something you eat,
Look at that jump.
gives you acid indigestion, it's time for extra strength Rolaids. Fast, 1,000 milligrams strong. Now that spells relief.
How about a better hand soap? Not us, we can't cope. We don't need no lava soap, no. Regular soap won't always work, but lava with pumice will. Interested? No, no, no. Lava, but don't try to cope without it soap.
Boy, St. Louis sure has turned it up a notch here in the second period. They only had 3 shots in the first, but Dan Quinn's pass, what happened here? They just couldn't get a handle on it. Brindamore couldn't. You know you're scrambling when you've got 2 forwards on their backs in the goal behind your goaltender. Steve Tuttle with a good stop move and a nice cross by Dan Quinn. Perfect pass to Brindamore. I don't know why he couldn't handle it. I guess it bounced over his skate, but the net was gaping and waiting for him. Couldn't get her home.
John Casey has faced 7 shots and has yielded only once. It is 1-0 St. Louis with 14:31 to go in the second period. Casey reacts to that one. Tenorti up with it for Minnesota. Wilson as well as Darren Kimball and Tomlinson. Kimball with a rare appearance on the forward line tonight, and in back Stevens and Jeff Brown. Tenorti drops this one back in. Mike Craig for Minnesota going to it, but Riendeau first. Thrown off by Brown, jammed back by Tomlinson, and Scott Stevens reconnects with Brown again. The North Stars have Propp as well as Mike Craig and Gagne up front. We mentioned Tenorti, but not Sean Chambers, who's the other defenseman. Stevens goes back to take this one. Under 14 to go in the second, 1-0 the Blues ahead. It is across to Stevens from Brown. This one tipped by Tenorti. Chambers swooping toward it. Kimball right after him, and it's drilled back in by Jeff Brown with Kimball still in the zone, delayed offside. Lowry flipped it off the linesman, trying to start ahead as Gagne. Gagne just sending it off the boards. Lowry back to get it. Forechecking as Basil McRae roughs it up with Stevens as Lowry is able to steam away. Puck up the wing now. Here's Basson, eyed up by Giles. Shovel shot went wide. Around for Basil McRae. Looks toward Bureau and plays it for Churla, but he couldn't reach it. Marois dumps it back in for St. Louis. Around the boards it goes. First one there, Rich Sutter, hit by Dahlquist. Basil McRae puts a good shove on Basson in the boards. They battle still in the corner for it. McRae reaches in. Comes up high on Rich Sutter with an elbow, and Sutter able to step away behind. Sutter to the corner, hit hard by Kurt Giles. Good clean check by Giles. The battle continues on the wall. Back in the Minnesota zone. Gino Cavallini trying to reach it and can't. Watching closely, Terry Gregson. If he loses sight of it, he blows the whistle. He doesn't, so he doesn't. McRae trying to knock it loose. Basson given a hit by Dahlquist. Unable to get to the front, Gino Cavallini. Bureau able to turn one ahead, and Shane Churla starts out. One man back, it's Harold Snaps. Churla waiting and looking over the traffic. Deals one off for Bureau. And back deep, Marois cut that one. Couldn't get it out. Churla with the keep, though. Floated one to the corner. Marois will try again. Bureau stepped into him. Along the boards, Churla burrows in. Kept alive by Tenorti. Over for Basil McRae. Trying to pull away from Sutter. Marois run into by Bureau. And the puck to Harold Snaps. And now the Blues can come out 3-on-2. Oates along with Sutter and Gino Cavallini. Cavallini's shot is a pad save for Casey. Drilled back down the ice by McRae, and Butcher stepped into him. An icing call stops the clock with 11:54 to go in the second. The Blues lead 1-0. Let's pause for this regional break. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on Sports Channel.
All human animals hunger for trusting relationships. Me, I trust my snapper dealer. Just ask him about his total protection warranty. Talk about trust. And about your free $50 or $100 U.S. savings bond when you buy a new snapper mower and additional snapper items. Gentlemen, how about a hug?
See the full line of Snapper products at these local Snapper dealers.
Well, Brian Sutter said yesterday, you can call us desperate or whatever you want. I don't mind that feeling. Takes a lot of guts to be able to say that and mean it, and he does. Basil McRae and Rich Sutter going at it in the corner. When McRae went for the puck, did he ever catch Rich Sutter with an elbow? But don't think for a second McRae hadn't seen Terry Gregson tucked in that pile. Then Rich Sutter went to the other side and got nailed again.
6 shots on goal in this period, and all of them from St. Louis. 8:06 has been played. Paul Cavallini with it. Cranks a shot off the shoulder of Casey. Picked up by Mark Tenorti. So Minnesota searching for their first goal in the game and their first shot of the period. Tenorti is the guy who comes charging in. Tenorti trickled one off the outside of the stick of Riendeau, and it's just scooped back down by the Blues. Chambers goes back for the icing touch-up, and play will be stopped. 10 shots apiece in the game.
Bob Gainey had one of the greatest compliments I've ever heard paid to him by Wayne Cashman, the ex-great from the Boston Bruins, worked with the Rangers this year as an assistant coach. Wayne Cashman told me in Minnesota that of all the playoff performers that he competed against in his career, and believe me, he played against a ton, Bob Gainey was the best playoff performer of them all. He was able to, he said, elevate himself to a different level in the playoffs and play at that level every shift of every game. And coming from Wayne Cashman, who elevated himself in big situations for a lot of years, that's a huge compliment.
Sure is. Sincere, down to earth, and so much acclaim has come to his team in April, but everything that comes directly to him, he deflects to the team. Just a modest, hard-working, successful human being. Keeps a very low-key approach. Remember, it was interesting, Mark Tenorti told you in the interview, it is kind of hard to tell when he gets mad in there, but you just sense that he's seething. It's not demonstrated a lot, but we know. Off the face-off, puck dropped unfairly, so they'll try it again. Bob Gainey in his time probably had coaches that yelled and coaches that didn't. And at least he did not try to change the personality that he has to fit the mold of prior coaches. He developed his own style. Part of it honed in France last year, where he coached and drove the Zamboni and did about everything else.
But didn't yell. How many players are there? I can't imagine a player anywhere picking a coach that yells a lot over a guy that doesn't yell very much.
Puck scooped along by Butcher, right back over for Paul Cavallini, and he skies it back down the ice. Kurt Giles will stride back after this one. Moving in is Tuttle. Two of them collide in the corner. Puck comes back to Butcher. One-time shot, save on the play, and Brindamore saw the rebound pop right by, but he gets it back, can't scoop it through. Paul Cavallini duels with Gavin, got a shot away, and it went just wide. Now it's Quinn feeding one across the goal mouth wide. Paul Cavallini punches it back, Brindamore behind. Dan Quinn tried to center, denied by Dahlquist. Bobby Smith turns with it for the North Stars and just flips one off of Gavin back out. Butcher run into by Gavin after he dropped that one back in, and Casey has to come out hurriedly to play this. Dahlquist connects again with Smith. Then it's back for Kurt Giles. This one rebounds over for Stevens, who starts it back. Still shotless in the period are the North Stars. The Blues have 8 shots. Centering pass, Brindamore denied by Dahlquist, and it's brushed back out again by Brian Bellows. 11 shots for the Blues, 10 for the North Stars in the game, but it's 8-0 St. Louis in this period. North Stars ice the puck. Brown touches. Clock stopped. 10:18 to go in the second. Brindamore's goal, the only one. There it is for the period on the left. 8-0 for the game. 11-10. And a timeout has been called here. I'm guessing this has been done by the North Stars. We weren't able to hear the announcement to see who had called it, but Bob Gainey seems to have his troops gathered around while the Blues are just sort of resting at their sideboards.
Well, the North Stars, to me, Mike, have gone back into kind of an impatient mode. They're trying to make all kinds of clever plays coming out of their zone. Instead of being patient enough to understand they've got a period and a half left, they're not content to just dump it out and play a wait-and-see kind of game, play a pressure game and force a couple of turnovers.
They have to make a change in the glass here at the arena in St. Louis. So we'll take a break and be back in just 30 seconds. Two by Broughton, and Craig roughs it up with Stevens again. They're eyeball to eyeball, and then Stevens bumps into Craig. A penalty coming up, and it'll be on Minnesota. Stoppage of play with 9:25 to go in the second period. Becoming a little bit more surly now, with the St. Louis Blues in the lead in the game by a score of 1-0.
Craig bailed out as if he'd just been shot trying to draw a penalty. Didn't happen. Then a little farther up the ice, Craig went after Stevens again, really mauled him, and was looking to draw a penalty, but by this time, Terry Gregson had already whistled an elbow on Craig, so the Blues are on the power.
Tuttle with a pass. Cavallini, a shot, he scores!
Have made it a 2-0 hockey game on their power play. Brett Hull wasn't there, Adam Oates wasn't there, but Paul Cavallini sure was. He threaded the needle in spite of the fact that John Casey came shooting right out at him. Nice play by Tuttle. He wasn't even trying for Cavallini, though. He was trying for Quinn. Back to the point to Cavallini and blasted home. 2-0 Blues.
First power play goal of the playoffs for Paul Cavallini. First goal of the series and his second overall in the playoffs. It comes at 10:43. Just 8 seconds after the power play had begun. Tuttle gets one assist and Quinn gets the other one. So now 2-0 St. Louis. Puck controlled by Dahlquist, shovels it back out, carried by Brian Propp and lofted back to the St. Louis corner. Paul Cavallini given a little shove by Gagne, kicked it along for Butcher. Butcher dumps it off for Rich Sutter, tries to get it by Dahlquist, good cover up by Modano, but the Blues can start it back. On the wing it is Dave Lowry, eyed up by Chambers, he gave him room. Lowry couldn't get to the front of the net, tried to stuff one, and we get a stoppage of play as the net dislodged.
That goal by Paul Cavallini was the 10th Blues shot on goal. The North Stars have yet to manage a shot. 8:43 to go in the second. Dave Lowry with good outside speed, stopped, decided he was going to cut in front. Pretty decent defensive play by Chambers. But the North Stars aren't playing nearly as smart in this hockey game as they have in the series so far. They have committed so many turnovers at the offensive blue line, especially when Brett Hull and Adam Oates are out there. I mean, Mike Craig did it twice in one shift. Chris Dahlquist on this last play pinched in. That's why Lowry ended up with his teammates coming down on kind of a 3-on-2 break. Not as patient. Haven't even gotten a shot on goal in this period. You know, when you're out there against the Hull and Oates line, you have to know, especially when your number 1 and 2 checkers aren't out there. I mean, neither Duchesne and Gavin had a chance to get out there against Hull. Mike Craig goes to the blue line. He tries to make a little play. Costly turnovers. They always happen at the blue line. And against Hall and Oates, I think especially whoever's on the ice for Minnesota has to say, look, there's not much going on this rush. I got to get the puck in deep here.
Well, Oates has Hall to his right for this faceoff. Gino Cavallini to the left. Snaps and Marois will be the defense. Can the Blues turn it around like they did against Detroit? The turnaround game had to be Game 5 of that series, and it was. Then Vincent Riendo shut out the Red Wings in Detroit, and the Blues came back and won by a goal here in Game 7. Up with this is Bobby Smith. Floats it on his backhand back out. Marois drives it back in. Delayed offside is wiped now as Hull comes out of the zone. Meanwhile, Kurt Giles plays the puck for Minnesota. Shovels it off the glass. Snep's there to get it. Lifts it right back in. Glove to the ice by Big Mark Tenorti. Dumped off for Smith, but he's canceled by Marois, and Sneps goes back. 8:15 to go in the second period. Still shotless are the North Stars. They trail in the game 2-0. Shotless in this period. 11-0. St. Louis in the shot department in this second frame. Puck pop near Bobby Smith. Pivots with it. Hands for Wilkinson, and a shot went off of Oates. Oates able to yank it through, and Harold Sneps advances it across to Hull. Hull's pass turned back up by Wilkinson. In stride for Bobby Smith. Eyed up by Marois. Fires, and Marois knocked that one down. Gino Cavallini brings it ahead with Adam Oates. Oates tries to finesse through. Wilkinson says no sail on that one. Bobby Smith tried to get by Hull. That didn't work. Here comes Chambers moving right in. His shot is just snapped up and held by Riendo, and then Sneps and Chambers having some words.
Well, the North Stars finally get credit for a shot on goal. Super move by Sean Chambers at the blue line, too. But there's not been much room in the offensive zone for the North Stars. The Blues are everywhere tonight.
A little later on tonight, the Edmonton Oilers will be playing the Los Angeles Kings again. The Oilers with 3 straight victories in a low-scoring series. Kings won the first 4-3, then 2 Edmonton 4-3 double overtime wins, then 4-2. We've had 13 overtime games so far in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, and the record is 16 in 1982. We should go past that, because we're just in the second round. Gagne with the draw opposite Bob Basson. 7:35 to go. Teams at full strength. 2-0 St. Louis. Gagne helps it to the back. Dahlquist a shot. Turned out by Stevens. Brought on by Rich Sutter. has Lowry, dumps one off the glass. Out to get it is Casey, turns it on for Mike Modano, plenty of room, flips one ahead that's tipped out by Prop. Jeff Brown connects across with Sutter, able to turn one on for Basson. Right in his sights is Gagne. Gagne shoves Basson to the boards. Around to take it is Dave Lowry, spins there. Modano right on him though, then slots at him. Lowry moves to the slot. Lost it off his stick though. Lowry right to the corner trying to crunch it loose. It comes to Basson. Basson in front. Couldn't get the backhander away. Oh, did it go over? It looked as though it had popped along the line and maybe got across, but just in the air. Oh, I thought that one had gone across in the air, but here is Basson trying to flip one along. Kept by Brown. A shot went off the glass. Around for Modano. Spins one out off Brian Prop and back to the St. Louis line. Brown with a pass. Too far for Tomlinson back down. Casey flips it off the boards. Brian Prop up with it there. Kimball deflects that one on to the turning stick of Tomlinson. Blocked aside by Casey. Tomlinson in the corner, wrapped up by Dahlquist. Kimball there. Carried off by Brian Prop. Bobby Smith goes after it. 14 shots for St. Louis in this period and just one for Minnesota. 2-0, St. Louis ahead. Wilson, bear hug by Dahlquist and goes down. Fans want a penalty. They'll get one this time. It'll be on Kurt Giles. 6 minutes and a second to go in the second period, and the Blues for the 5th time will be on the power play.